Hi, in this video, I'm going to quickly walk through how we can connect Podio to Power BI through Citrix Podio workflow automation. And then, so the idea will be to query your Podio workspace through the automation and then create custom dashboards using that underlying data and create your own personal calculations and any KPIs you want to track. So just for some notes here, Maurice shared with me this Podio dashboard layout, and I'm going to attempt to create this by querying the workspace, the IKG workspace. So without further ado, let's jump right in. First, we're going to go to Citrix Podio workflow automation, and then you'll notice that under these applications, you can actually create a new feed, use this app's data in a third-party system, and that's essentially what we're going to do. We're going to use Power BI and create and pull from this feed. I've already done it here. It's called IKG application here, and then if you take a look at, there are these fields which match everything within your Podio workspace. So you might recognize these, and then what we're going to do is essentially select JSON, and what we're going to do is parse the JSON within Power BI and then turn it into usable data. It sounds complicated, but it's actually rather simple. We'll go ahead and save, and then one thing to keep is that we're going to need this URL here. So we're going to copy that. I'm going to pull up Power BI now, and then get data from web. Go ahead and paste it in. All right, so now we're here, and what we're gonna go ahead and do is select displayed as text, and it's gonna evaluate it, and then it's gonna pull essentially the whole feed. And if you take a look at it, it is just a full data. There's a whole lot of data in text, so we're gonna make it useful. So we're gonna go ahead and transform data. And then what we're going to see is it's going to process it. Query editor, back one step, because Power BI tries to do things for you, but we'll go ahead and go back one step, and you'll see it does this. It pulls the column, and in this column is all the data you just saw. If you look carefully, it matches what do you have in Podio. So what we're going to go ahead and do is transform, and we're going to parse as JSON, and then we're going to get this list. And if I explore this a little bit more in each record, you're going to begin to see this now. See that? A subaward, DUNS number, score, office responsible, proposed grantee name. So that is what we want. So we go ahead and go back one more, and then all we have to, let's go parse the JSON, and then we'll expand to new rows, and then we're going to go ahead and expand this again. Uncheck original column names as prefix. We'll select load more to make sure we capture everything, and this is everything here matches what we have in terms of the feed. So these fields basically we've selected. All right, so let's go back to this. We're going to select that, and now we have all of this lovely data coming in as rows with columns as the fields we're tracking. A couple of things to clean up. We can go back and forth, but since I'm doing budget and spent, and the difference between those two as the remain available budget, so I'll just do that as an example. So that's fine. Spent budget here. We're going to transform this to a decimal number. There are some null values, which I'm sure you know why in your data set. And then we'll look for estimate score budget here. And then we'll also transform and make this a decimal number. All right, great. So what I do know is that I need to track what the difference between the two is for available budget. So we can go ahead and create a new custom column. And I'm going to call it, available budget is, no, it's 9. Estimated budget, school budget, subtract spent, right? So spent budget here. And that should give us, we have to turn this from this. And for the record, I'm very familiar with Power BI, so if I'm moving a little quickly, it's intentional. But if there's a need for training, definitely can do that. But I just wanted to demo what can be done. So we'll go ahead and transform this to a decimal number. All right, we got that sorted out. We're gonna change this query to IKG SV app. Let's just call it IKG app. And then we'll go ahead and close and apply. And it should start loading the data. Now that the data comes in, what we're going to want to do is actually define the data types. Remember we did a decimal number. I'm going to turn those into currency, so that way we can look at it's nicer to look at in terms of a currency value. So let's go ahead and go to the data tab here, and then we can go ahead and choose. I know spent budget here. We're going to make it the format to be currency, and then if you look at it, it'll turn this into a nice little dollar sign. Yeah, so now it looks like nice numbers, and then we'll make the decimal places too. So let's go ahead and find number 9, which is budget. So turn that also to currency. Two decimal points. All right, so nice and neatly organized, and then we have to find spent. Oh, we already did spent, so available budget is the same one, right? I created this calculation. It's not in the data set, but it is a calculation we did with the data set. So go ahead and turn that into currency. And then 2 decimal points. Right. So we've done some extraction, data extraction, transformation, and loading, and now we can go ahead and, or maybe technically it's extraction, load, and transform ELT, but so what we can go ahead and do is, I know that grant, subaward name, subaward number is going to be the unique for each subaward, right? So we're going to want to count that. So usually I like to know, it's like, how many of these data fields do we have, and you can count distinct here. So we have 105 subawards, and then we can also then drop in the total budget, which I believe was the field was 9, estimated score budget. So we can do something like score budget here, and then what you can see it averages or sums. So I'm going to sum it all up. So now we know that total of all the budgets, we're looking at 3.14 million, and then we can also look at something like spent. We do the same thing for spent. So what I'll do is sum it all up. So as it naturally, Power BI tries to do it all for you, so it's pretty drag and drop friendly. Spent, and then we can do one for the newly created field called available. Available budget, which is essentially this minus that, which is 910,000. Which, if you did some math, 8 plus 9 does not equal 3.4, which we can, if you're familiar with the data, you probably can explain why, but I'll touch on that in a little bit. Okay, so what we can do is, you can start building filters. We can slice and dice however the data we want. You know, here we can maybe say office responsible. I believe there was a score office, so maybe you want to look at score officers. You can drop that in there, and then you can sort of see, you can use these as selecting to filter your data. You can even, let's take a look at status maybe. We can drop in the sub-award name number as the x-axis, status as the y-axis, then it drops it like that. So now we're looking at active, and then we can even, will give us this number. So now we can see what we're looking at by each category. We can custom sort these as well, but this is just a demonstration of what we can do. So you can go ahead and select that. You can do a funnel chart here, which is pretty useful, which is what I've built for the demo, which shows you budget, estimated budget, categories, or maybe it's the value, right? Estimated budget, and then spent, and then we can see that we've only spent 25% of the estimated budget, which is basically these two numbers represented as a percentage. This is 100%, but I'm not sure if that's correct, but you're familiar with the data, so you can tell me. And then, as you can see, you can build these out however you want, and then you can even add a little matrix or a table here, which I'm going to drop in, and I'll explain what this looks like here. So we can do sub-award, we can do status, we can do anything in the data set. So here we go, budget, estimated budget, spent, available. So theoretically this should show. So we can also, we can do however, you can design it however you like it, but so here, 20 minus this, and this was the field I created, so 19, 11. However, you notice that this is adding up to 910,000, but that's because there are projects like this closed, but the spent is blank, the available is therefore blank because it's a null value within Power BI, so it's gonna, this subtract null equals null essentially. So we have to turn this to 0, which we can do on the back end. But for now, this is a good representation of how we can pull data in, and then you can select, these are filters now that can cross filter to show you what you have here. You can even do it the other way around. You select this, it tells you, where it is you can cross filter. You can modify all these interactions. So just wanted to give you a demo of how we can pull data from Podio and build awesome custom visuals. And then you can expand the data model by adding multiple streams of data, so that way you can enrich your data even more, creating complex data models as long as you have a primary key to link them together. So we can look at budget as well as all the other KPIs that are outlined here. But for now, this is how to do it, and looking forward to having further discussions. Thanks, and I'll see you guys in the next one.